Hello and welcome to this video. My name is David Thorne. In a previous video I installed the latest version of MariaDB on a Debian 12 server, this server here, and that's literally where this server has been left. Now this video we're going to talk about how to secure this one server to make sure that the correct ports are open and the wrong ports aren't open and so on, just to secure the firewall a little bit. So this video is all about the firewalls and the ports that need to be open and closed. All right, so in order to do this we want to install a package, well, not update, we want to install a package called UFW, and this is then going to allow us to secure the firewall basically. So we want to be able to say then UFW allow 3306 TCP, because that's the port that MariaDB is going to be listening on. So we do this, and then we want to be able to SSH to this one server as well. So we're going to say UFW allow 22 TCP as well, and that's basically it. We don't want any HTTP, HTTPS, we don't want anything else accessing this one server. So we can now say by default, right, we're going to deny all requests, incoming requests this is, not outgoing requests. So we do that as well. Now you can see default incoming policy change to deny. Be sure to update your rules accordingly. And now we need to say UFW enable, and command may disrupt existing SSH connections. Well, we've just opened port 22 anyway, and we're accessing it via port 22, so it doesn't matter. And firewall is active and enabled on your system startup. Okay, so let's have then UFW status. And if we do then, verbose, we can see that it's status active, login on low, and default is deny for incoming and allow all outgoing basically. And we can see that we've got 3306 on version 4 and version 6. And then for SSH as well, which this is really good because now we know that the only connections coming in are allowed to come in through the MySQL or the 3306. Now you could say that we should change port 22 to another port, because otherwise people will know that you've got port 22 open. But in this scenario we're just going to keep it at port 22 for simplicity. Now what I will also suggest, if you are accessing this one MySQL server or the MariaDB server from another server on DigitalOcean and so on, then you could open up another port instead, because everyone knows that 3306 is the default port for MySQL or MariaDB servers, etc. So just adding another arbitrary port instead of 3306 will make it a lot more difficult for hackers and so on to find out that this is actually a database server. But that's down to you. But if you want for everyone to know, if you want everyone to be able to access this one, which is a bit strange, then just leave it how it is. So now that we've done this, we can see that we've secured this one. However, what we do know is that if we look at this, netstat is not installed. So let's just download NetTools. And with NetTools we can see which ports is actually being listened to, and we can see here that MariaDB is only listening on the loopback address. Okay, so we know that it's not going to handle any external connections anyway, so this opening or closing the ports, the firewall ports, is kind of redundant because it's not listening on it anyway. So in order to be able to do that, we have to go into the MySQL directory, and in here we want to go into this MariaDB confd directory. We don't have to go into it, and here we've then got this 50-server.conf. We want to open this up because we need to change something in there. And in here we come down and we see this bind address. See here that instead of skip networking to default is now to listen only on local host, which is more compatible and is not less secure. So we want to change this to basically 0000 to listen on all on all addresses. Now we could put the actual IP address of this one machine instead, but just for simplicity we're going to leave it at that, so it listens on all of them. Now because we've changed this, we now have to restart MariaDB, so we'll just come here and say restart, and jobs are good one. And now if we come in here and say MariaDB once again, and we could just say select user and host from MySQL user, and we can see that we've got a root user on localhost. So only the root user can only access this, and so as the other users as well, if they are actually on this one machine. They can't access it externally. So if we go ahead and create another user of David at wildcards identified by a crazy stupid password, and we do this. And so what I want to be able to show you now is the difference between the two users. So select user host from MySQL user, and we can see here now that root can only access this on the local host, and so can MySQL and MariaDB.sys, but David can access it from any host. So if we pop over to another server on this local network that I have on DigitalOcean to see whether we can access it. Okay, so the IP address of the other machine is then 10.114.0.3, and as you can see we can ping it, and we're going to then say MariaDB user is then David. Or let's just start with root first of all, but root doesn't have a password, so because we haven't actually set a password, if we come back here and we say select password here, you see that it's invalid, right? And if we come in here and we say plugin, you'll see that it's MySQL native password, but this invalid is basically a special thing saying to MariaDB that, hey, this only works if you're a Unix socket and you're logged in. There is no password for the root user, so it couldn't do it. It couldn't do it anyway. Even if we did try to do this, it wouldn't work. It just wouldn't work even if we said use the correct host. It can't connect to this one socket. It just doesn't matter because it doesn't have the user account, and you see access denied for this one server, right? So, however, if we now try with David and we add our terrible password and we see what happens now, we can see that we can access it, and we just say select user, and we can see that we are at this one host, all right? So this is to show you that I now have access to it, and I can say show databases. Now this user is completely useless because it can only see the information schema here, and if we say then select everything from information schema dot tables, we can see all these tables, but it really doesn't make any difference to it. We can't access it through the root user. So unless this David user has any special privileges, it really doesn't matter anyway because it can't see anything, all right? But this is basically how you can restrict access. You can restrict remote access to your one root user, because this one root user now must be on that one machine, and as long as you secure your machine, everything should be okay, all right? Should be, because something can always happen. But this wildcard is still a little bit dangerous. If you just wanted the user to access from this IP address or this local network, then I would explicitly add this one host to here rather than a wildcard, or add multiple users for different hosts rather than just saying wildcard. The wildcard should be like for literally public access. If you've got specific users, put it down on a host machine as well that they can access it from. All right. With that said, I think we've gone enough into this, but it should have given you an insight of the fundamental information that you need to know about how to restrict remote access or to allow remote access for specific users on a Debian machine. With that said, thank you very much for watching. My name's David Thorne, and there might be a video on the screen right now that either I thought might be good for you or YouTube recommended to you. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video. Goodbye.